Elias opened his eyes slowly, blinking against a light that felt strange and harsh. At first, he could not move, as if his body itself was stiff and unwilling to obey him. The air around him smelled faintly of metal and stone. He tried to recall where he was, what had happened, and why he felt as though he had been asleep for a very long time. The room he found himself in was vast and empty, with walls of smooth metal that curved seamlessly into the floor and ceiling. Strange panels and lines of lights ran along the walls, pulsating softly in a rhythm that made him uneasy but also curious. He forced himself to sit up, his legs trembling from disuse. As his eyes adjusted, he noticed the floor beneath him had a subtle shimmer, reflecting the strange lights above. The air was cold but breathable, and despite the silence, there was a faint hum that seemed to come from all around him. Something about the place was familiar, but he could not yet place it. He stood cautiously, feeling the stiffness in his muscles and the soreness in his joints. Each step he took echoed in the emptiness, making him aware of just how alone he was. Elias walked through the room, noticing that the metal walls had markings, symbols that looked almost like a language, but he could not read them. Some of them glowed faintly when he approached, casting a gentle light across his path. He felt an odd sense of recognition, as if he had seen these symbols before, though he could not remember when or where. He kept moving, drawn by curiosity and a quiet hope that someone, anyone, might be nearby. But the silence remained, thick and absolute. He came to a doorway at the far end of the room, leading into a corridor that stretched into darkness. As he stepped through, the floor beneath him changed. The shimmer of the metal gave way to a smooth, stone-like surface that felt ancient and worn. The lights along the walls dimmed slightly, creating long shadows that danced as he moved. He paused, listening for any sound, any sign of life, but there was nothing except the faint hum that seemed to resonate with his own heartbeat. The corridor opened into a larger space, a hall that was far beyond anything he had imagined. Towers of glass and metal rose from the floor, some broken and crumbling, others still standing with a strange grace. Dust hung in the air like a veil, and patches of light filtered through cracks in the ceiling above, casting a soft, golden glow across the scene. Elias felt a chill run down his spine. This place was old, much older than anything he had known. The architecture, the scale, and the design spoke of a civilization that had been advanced beyond his understanding. Yet it was silent, abandoned, and somehow sad. He walked among the ruins, touching the surfaces gently. Some of the glass towers were hollow, revealing machines and mechanisms inside that had not moved in countless years. He pressed his fingers to the cool metal and felt a faint vibration, almost like a heartbeat, but slower, distant, and irregular. He wondered what had happened here, why this place had been left behind, and where everyone had gone. Questions flooded his mind, and with each step, the sense of loneliness grew heavier, pressing on him like a weight he could not shake. As he explored further, Elias noticed a central platform in the middle of the hall. It was circular and raised slightly above the floor, with a smooth surface that reflected the dim light. In the center of the platform there was a pedestal, and on it lay a small, transparent device that pulsed with a soft blue light. Drawn to it, Elias approached cautiously. The device was unlike anything he had ever seen, delicate and intricate, with lines of energy running through it like veins. He reached out, and the moment his fingers touched the surface, a wave of images and feelings washed over him. Suddenly, he was no longer in the hall. He saw flashes of a world he had never known, cities that floated in the sky, machines that moved without hands, and people who seemed to shimmer like light itself. He saw laughter, learning, and creation. He felt joy and wonder, but also a strange sadness, as if he was witnessing something beautiful that had ended. The images passed quickly, leaving him breathless and confused. When he withdrew his hand, the hall was quiet again, but the sense of connection lingered, like a whisper in his mind. Elias sank to the floor, trying to understand what he had just experienced. He realized that the device was not just a machine. It was a record, a memory, a window into a world that had once existed. And yet, the absence of people, the silence of the hall, told him that something had gone wrong. Humanity, it seemed, had vanished. He could not grasp how or why, but the evidence was all around him. Buildings that had taken centuries to construct now lay empty. Machines that had been alive with energy now stood dormant, and he was alone. He wandered further, moving from hall to hall, discovering more devices and more remnants of a civilization that had been brilliant and thoughtful. Each device offered glimpses into life before the silence, family gatherings, scientific discoveries, art, music, and celebrations of knowledge. Elias felt a connection to these people he had never met. He could see their dreams, their hopes, and their struggles. They were human, like him, and now they were gone. He did not understand why, but he knew that he was the last link to everything they had built, everything they had dreamed. Hours, or perhaps days, passed as Elias explored. Time had lost its meaning in the stillness of the halls. He found rooms filled with books, some of which were fragile and crumbling, others glowing with light as if holding secrets in their pages. He discovered gardens with plants that had somehow survived the centuries, glowing softly under artificial suns. Birds, small and mechanical, flitted among the branches, mimicking life in a world where life had disappeared. Elias watched them with wonder, feeling a strange sense of companionship. He began to understand that though humans were gone, their love for the world, their creativity, and their desire for beauty had endured. One day, while exploring a deep corridor, Elias stumbled upon a chamber unlike any he had seen before. The walls were covered in mirrors that reflected not just his image, but fragments of memory. When he touched the mirrors, he saw himself as a child, playing in fields he had never known, learning, growing, dreaming. He realized that the chamber was more than just a memory device. It was a place where humans had stored their essence, their consciousness, their very being. He felt a shiver run through him. Could it be possible that humanity had not entirely vanished? Could it be that somewhere, in a form beyond his understanding, people still existed? As he explored this chamber, Elias noticed a faint sound, almost imperceptible. It was a voice, soft and melodic, calling his name. He followed it through winding corridors until he came upon a doorway that led to a small room filled with light. Inside, a figure appeared, not solid but shimmering like a reflection in water. It smiled at him warmly, and he felt a wave of familiarity and comfort. "Welcome, Elias," the figure said. "We have been waiting for you." He did not understand who they were, but the feeling of connection was undeniable. He felt less alone than he had in centuries. The figure began to guide him, showing him more of the world and explaining what had happened. Humanity, it turned out, had faced challenges too great for their physical bodies to survive. But they had found a way to endure, to transcend the limitations of flesh and time. They had left the earth in care of a guardian, a human who would awaken when the world was ready for a new chapter. Elias realized that he had been chosen, that he was not merely a survivor, but a keeper of a legacy that stretched across millennia. He felt awe and responsibility in equal measure. Days turned into weeks as Elias learned from the figure. He discovered how to maintain the machines, how to access the memories, and how to interact with the subtle energies that still pulsed throughout the city. He began to see the world not just as empty ruins, but as a living archive, a place full of potential and promise. He planted seeds in the gardens, repaired machines, and explored towers that reached into the sky. With each action, he felt more connected to the people who had built this world, more connected to the purpose that had been left for him. Despite the wonders he discovered, Elias could not ignore the silence that hung over the world. He longed for companionship, for the presence of others, even if they existed only as memories or light. He spoke to the figure often, asking questions, sharing thoughts, and learning about humanity's greatest achievements. The figure, patient and gentle, explained that Elias's journey had only just begun. He was to become the bridge between the past and the future, between the world that had been and the possibilities that lay ahead. In quiet moments, Elias would stand on the highest tower, looking out over the ruins and imagining what the world could become. He thought of the children who had once played in the streets, the scientists who had dreamed of stars, the artists who had painted visions of hope. He felt a deep connection to them, as if their dreams were part of his own, and he knew that even though humanity had vanished from the physical world, its spirit lived on, vibrant and unbroken, in him and in the creations that surrounded him. As the sun, or what he assumed was a sun, rose and set over the city, Elias began to understand the true meaning of being the last human. It was not loneliness, but stewardship. It was not sorrow, but responsibility. He was the keeper of memories, the guardian of knowledge, and the bridge to a future that could surpass even the greatest achievements of the past. And though the journey ahead was uncertain, he felt a spark of hope, a certainty that he could honor the legacy of humanity and perhaps help it find a new path, one that would shine brighter than ever before. Elias had spent what felt like many days exploring the towering halls and shimmering chambers of the ancient city. He had grown used to the quiet, though it still pressed on him with a strange weight. Each day he walked through corridors filled with light and shadow, discovering machines that hummed softly, gardens that glowed with a subtle life, and crystals that held memories of people he would never meet. Yet despite all this, he felt a growing curiosity about the world outside. What lay beyond the city's walls? Had nature survived in some form? Were there other places humans had built, other secrets they had left behind? One morning, Elias stood at the edge of the city, at a balcony that stretched higher than any building he had ever seen. Below, the ruins extended in all directions, broken towers and stone streets stretching to the horizon. In some places, plants had begun to reclaim the structures, their green shoots curling around metal and stone. Streams of water reflected the sky, sparkling like veins of silver among the desolation. Elias realized the city was more than just buildings and machines. It was a living archive, a record of life that had once thrived here. It had been abandoned, yes, but it was not lifeless. The world itself had adapted, finding new ways to survive. He turned away from the balcony and returned to the chambers that held the crystalline memories. The images still fascinated him. Every day he spent hours watching scenes of human life, learning from them, and sometimes even interacting with them through the devices. In one crystal, he saw a group of people working together to build a bridge that seemed impossible to construct, spanning a canyon wider than any he had seen. In another, he watched children laughing and playing in a sunlit field, their joy so pure that it brought a smile to his face. Each memory made him feel connected, as if humanity were still with him, speaking through time. Elias was particularly drawn to one crystal that seemed different from the others. It pulsed with a deeper, warmer light, and when he touched it, he felt a rush of emotion unlike anything he had experienced. The crystal showed him a woman, moving through a bustling city with a grace and determination that seemed to light the world around her. He did not know her name, but her presence felt important, almost familiar. She was working on a project, creating something that glowed with energy and potential. As he watched, Elias realized that this project might have been one of the last things humans had done before disappearing. A sense of urgency filled him. He wanted to understand her work and why it had mattered so much. He spent hours experimenting with the crystal, learning to interact with the memory in small ways. He discovered that he could ask questions, and though the responses were subtle, flickers of light, changes in the images, they seemed to guide him. It was as if the memory itself wanted him to understand. Elias began to realize that humanity had not simply vanished. They had planned for this moment, leaving behind tools and records for him, the last human, to find and learn from. The thought both excited and frightened him. He was no longer just exploring, he was becoming part of something greater. As he continued his work, Elias noticed a pattern in the city that he had not seen before. Certain buildings were aligned in a way that suggested intentional design, as if they were meant to channel light, energy, or perhaps information. Following these alignments, he found a central tower that rose higher than any other, its surface smooth and reflective. Inside, he discovered a spiral staircase that wound upward endlessly, and at the top, a dome of glass that overlooked the entire city. Sunlight, or what passed for sunlight through the ancient systems, streamed through the dome, illuminating a pedestal in the center. On it rested a small device, much like the first one he had found, but this one pulsed with a more complex rhythm. Elias approached the device carefully, feeling a mix of anticipation and reverence. When he touched it, the world around him seemed to shift. He saw images of people working together to solve problems, to explore space, to create art and music. But there was something else. Messages hidden within the images, instructions for someone who could understand them. Elias realized that the humans had left not just memories, but guidance. They had trusted him to continue their work, to learn from their achievements, and perhaps to take the next step that they themselves had been unable to take. He felt a deep sense of responsibility settle over him, stronger than any fear or loneliness he had experienced. Days turned into weeks as Elias studied the device and the crystals around him. He learned to read patterns in the light, to understand the logic behind the machines, and to follow the subtle instructions embedded in the memories. Each discovery gave him confidence, but also revealed how much he did not know. He felt the weight of his uniqueness, the knowledge that he was the only human left, tasked with understanding and protecting a legacy that stretched back millennia. And yet, he also felt a spark of excitement, a sense that his role was not merely to preserve the past, but to shape the future. One day, while exploring the outskirts of the city, Elias stumbled upon a garden unlike any he had seen before. It was larger than the others, filled with plants that seemed almost magical, glowing faintly in colors that shifted with the light. In the center of the garden, a small fountain bubbled with water that shimmered like liquid crystal. As he approached, he noticed that the plants reacted to his presence, bending slightly as if acknowledging him. Elias knelt beside the fountain, dipping his hand into the water. To his surprise, it felt warm and alive, not just liquid, but something that seemed aware of him. A thought struck him. Perhaps the humans had not only preserved themselves in memory, but had also found ways to preserve life in forms he could not yet understand. He spent hours in the garden, experimenting with the plants and the water. Over time, he discovered that he could encourage growth, coaxing new shoots from the soil, shaping the plants with his hands. The experience was magical, a reminder that even in a world emptied of people, life could continue and thrive. Elias began to understand that his role was not just to remember humanity, but to nurture the world they had left behind. He felt a sense of peace, a connection to the life around him, and a growing hope that the future could hold wonders beyond imagination. As he worked in the garden, Elias noticed a strange light flickering in the distance. Curious, he followed it through winding paths and corridors until he reached a large hall filled with machines that pulsed with energy. In the center of the hall stood a tall structure, a combination of metal, glass, and light that seemed to reach upward as if trying to touch the sky. The machines surrounding it moved in patterns, creating waves of energy that Elias could feel through the floor. He realized that this was not just a machine, it was a heart, a central core that powered the entire city. And he also realized that he could interact with it, that he could influence the flow of energy and perhaps unlock secrets hidden within. Elias spent days learning to communicate with the heart. It responded to his thoughts and movements, pulsing more strongly when he aligned himself with its rhythm. Through it, he could access deeper memories, fragments of plans, and ideas that humans had left behind. He saw glimpses of journeys beyond the stars, discoveries of unknown worlds, and creations that defied imagination. The heart seemed to trust him, allowing him to explore and understand, guiding him toward knowledge that had been preserved for a human who could appreciate it. Elias felt a deep connection, as if he were finally becoming part of the civilization that had disappeared. One evening, as the city glowed under artificial stars, Elias reflected on what he had learned. Humanity had vanished from the world, yes, but they had left everything needed to continue their story. The memories, the machines, the gardens, they were all pieces of a puzzle waiting for someone to assemble them. And now, he understood, that someone was him. He was the last human, the one entrusted with the task of carrying forward the knowledge, the creativity, and the spirit of a species that had once shaped the world. The responsibility was immense, but Elias did not feel fear. Instead, he felt determination, curiosity, and a sense of purpose, stronger than any loneliness. As he prepared for another day of exploration, a faint hum reached his ears, different from the usual background vibration of the city. It was subtle, rhythmic, and almost musical. Following it, he discovered a small chamber he had not seen before. Inside, there was a pedestal with a crystal unlike any he had encountered. It pulsed with a soft, golden light, and as he touched it, he felt a warmth spreading through his body. The crystal spoke to him, not in words, but in feelings and images, a message from those who had transcended, a secret meant for him alone. It showed him possibilities for the future, choices he could make, and the potential for life to continue in ways he had never imagined. Elias understood that he was standing on the threshold of something extraordinary, a chance to bridge the past and the future. He spent the night in the chamber, contemplating the vision. He realized that his journey was far from over. There were more secrets to uncover, more memories to explore, and more ways to nurture the world around him. Humanity's legacy was vast, and he had only begun to understand it. Yet for the first time since he awoke, Elias did not feel alone. He felt a connection to the people who had come before him, to the world they had built, and to the future he could help create. The city was not empty. It was alive with possibility, waiting for him to awaken its true potential. Elias stepped out of the chamber the next morning, sunlight streaming through the domes and casting patterns across the floors. He knew that he was no longer just a wanderer in a silent city. He was a student, a guardian, and a creator. He would continue to explore, learn, and grow, uncovering the secrets that humanity had left behind. And in doing so, he would honor their legacy, ensuring that the spirit of humanity endured even if their bodies had vanished. The world was waiting, and Elias was ready to embrace it. Elias had grown accustomed to the rhythm of the city, moving through halls, gardens, and towers as if he belonged there. Each day brought new discoveries, new memories of a humanity that had vanished from the earth, yet left behind traces of its brilliance. But one morning, as he walked through a corridor he had never noticed before, he felt a peculiar pull, as if something was calling him, whispering to him through the walls and floor. He followed the sensation, curiosity propelling him forward, until he reached a small, unassuming doorway tucked into the shadow of a crumbling tower. The doorway led to a narrow staircase that descended deep beneath the city. The walls here were different, rough and metallic, and the light dimmed to a soft glow that emanated from the floor itself. As he stepped down, the hum of the city changed. It was lower, steadier, almost like a heartbeat. He felt a strange warmth in the air and a faint, pleasant scent that reminded him of flowers, though he knew nothing like that should exist underground. At the bottom of the stairs, he found a large chamber, circular and filled with machines that pulsed with energy in patterns he had never seen before. In the center of the chamber was a pedestal, and on it rested a device that seemed older than anything he had encountered so far. It was smooth and transparent, with glowing lines running through it like veins of light. As he approached, the device activated, projecting a series of images into the air. Elias recognized some of them immediately. People working together, building cities, exploring the stars. But then the images changed, becoming more abstract, more complex. They showed people transferring their consciousness into forms of light, leaving their physical bodies behind and rising into realms beyond the earth. Elias stepped back, awed by what he was seeing. He realized for the first time the full scope of humanity's secret. They had not simply vanished. They had transcended the physical world, choosing to exist in a new form, beyond the limits of flesh and time. The thought was overwhelming. He felt both awe and fear, knowing he was the last human in the traditional sense, yet perhaps the first to truly witness this transformation. He wondered why he had been left behind, and as he touched the device, he felt a connection, as if it were speaking directly to him. The device revealed something else, messages and instructions, left for him alone. Humanity had trusted him with a secret that could change everything. He was not just a survivor, he was the guardian of a legacy that spanned millennia. He could understand the memories, interact with the machines, and perhaps even continue the work humanity had started. The responsibility was immense, yet a thrill ran through him at the thought. For the first time since awakening, Elias felt a clear purpose. He was not alone. He was chosen. He spent hours examining the device, learning to navigate the layers of memory and instruction it contained. Some memories were simple, showing everyday life and the joys of creation. Others were complex, depicting experiments, discoveries, and creations that challenged his understanding of reality. Through them, Elias began to see a pattern. Humanity had not left randomly. They had built a world for him to explore, to understand, and ultimately, to continue. They had trusted him to make choices, to protect their legacy, and perhaps to guide the Earth toward a new future. As he studied, a soft voice reached his mind, not spoken aloud, but felt, like a thought that did not originate in his own consciousness. "Elias," it said, "you are ready." He looked around, startled, but saw nothing. The voice came again, warmer and more certain. "You are the bridge between the past and the future. What you do now will shape the world to come." Elias's heart raced. He had expected guidance, but not a voice that seemed alive, aware, and understanding. The message was clear. The humans had left more than machines and memories. They had left a presence, a guiding force, waiting for the last human to awaken. He explored the chamber further and discovered a network of smaller devices, each connected to the central pedestal. As he touched them, they lit up, revealing more memories, more pieces of the puzzle. One device showed the creation of artificial companions, machines imbued with personality and learning ability, designed to assist the last human in understanding and maintaining the world. Another revealed the process by which humans had elevated their consciousness, leaving behind only a trace of their physical selves, yet remaining part of the universe in ways that defied his comprehension. Elias felt both wonder and determination. He realized that the future of the Earth, perhaps of life itself, rested in his hands. He had a choice: to remain in the physical world, tending to the legacy left behind, or to attempt the journey humanity had taken, risking everything to join them in a new form of existence. He spent days contemplating the possibilities, examining the devices, and speaking with the guiding presence that seemed to exist in the chamber. Though the path forward was uncertain, he felt an inner strength growing, fueled by curiosity, hope, and the knowledge that he carried the dreams of countless generations. One afternoon, while walking through a corridor that led to an observation deck, Elias noticed a glimmering light at the edge of the city. It was faint, almost imperceptible, yet it drew him like a magnet. He followed the path, moving carefully among the ruins, until he reached a vast open space. Here, nature had begun to reclaim the land. Trees with crystalline leaves swayed gently in the breeze, streams of liquid light flowed across the ground, and flowers of every color imaginable glowed softly in the fading sunlight. It was a breathtaking sight, a testament to humanity's love for beauty and life, even in a world that would be left behind. In the center of this open space, Elias discovered a pedestal similar to the one in the underground chamber. On it rested a crystal that pulsed with a golden light, warmer and more alive than any he had encountered. He reached out, and as his fingers touched the surface, a wave of energy flowed through him. The crystal projected a memory unlike the others, a complete sequence of events, showing humanity's final moments before transcending the physical world. He saw the joy, the anticipation, and the care with which they had prepared for the future. And then he saw themselves, leaving, their forms dissolving into light, rising toward a realm he could not yet comprehend. Elias was overwhelmed, yet he felt no fear. The memory conveyed a sense of trust, of hope, and of love for the world they were leaving behind. He understood that he was not merely the last human in a lonely sense, but the final link in a chain that connected the past, present, and future. He felt a deep connection to those who had come before him, their dreams, their hopes, and their wisdom now flowing through him. And he realized that the secret they had left for him was not just the knowledge of their departure, but the possibility to continue, to create, and to guide the world in ways they could not. Returning to the city, Elias felt a renewed sense of purpose. He began to work with the machines, learning to control energy flows, to access hidden chambers, and to unlock devices that had remained dormant for millennia. Each success brought new understanding, new memories, and new possibilities. He discovered machines designed to cultivate the gardens, to maintain the streams, and even to create weather patterns that supported life. Elias realized that the city itself was alive, a vast network of technology and nature working in harmony, and that he was now a part of it, a participant in a legacy that had been carefully crafted for someone who could appreciate and protect it. One day, as he explored the highest tower, Elias noticed a series of symbols etched into the walls. They were intricate, flowing patterns that seemed to shift and change as he moved closer. Touching them, he felt a pulse, a resonance that traveled through his body. The symbols revealed a hidden chamber, a place that contained the most important secret of all. Inside, Elias found a device larger than any he had seen, shaped like a sphere and filled with light that seemed alive. It pulsed with energy, responding to his presence, and he understood immediately that this was the key to the secret humanity had left behind. The device revealed a final memory, one that encompassed the entirety of human knowledge, wisdom, and experience. Elias saw the triumphs, the failures, the laughter, the love, and the struggles of countless generations. And then he saw the choice that humanity had made, to leave their physical forms behind, to embrace a new way of existing, and to entrust the earth to the care of a single human who would awaken when the time was right. The revelation was profound, almost too much to comprehend. Elias felt the weight of responsibility, but also a deep sense of honor and purpose. He understood that he had been chosen not by accident, but because he was capable, because he carried within him the potential to continue the legacy of humanity. As he stood before the device, Elias felt a presence beside him. A soft, glowing figure materialized, humanoid in shape, but made entirely of light. "Elias," it said gently, "you are ready to understand the final truth. Humanity has entrusted you with the earth, with their memories, and with the future. What you choose to do will shape the destiny of all that remains." Elias looked at the figure, feeling a connection that went beyond words. He realized that he was no longer alone. He had a guide, a companion, and a source of wisdom to help him navigate the choices ahead. He spent the next days exploring the possibilities the device revealed. He discovered that he could enhance the gardens, create new life forms, and even influence the energy flows of the city to shape the environment. Each experiment brought him joy and a sense of accomplishment. He felt the presence of the humans in every machine, every crystal, and every plant. They had left a world that was not only functional, but alive. A place where creativity, learning, and growth could continue. And now, he was its steward, the last human tasked with nurturing the legacy of a species that had transcended time itself. One evening, as the sun, or what he assumed was a sun, set over the city, Elias stood on the highest tower, looking out at the world he had begun to understand. The light from the horizon reflected off the crystals and machines, creating a dazzling display of colors. He thought of the humans who had come before, of the lives they had lived, and of the choices they had made. And he thought of the choices before him. He could continue to live in the physical world, tending to the earth and its secrets. Or he could attempt the journey they had taken, embracing a new form of existence that might allow him to join them in ways he could not yet comprehend. The decision was daunting, yet exhilarating. Elias knew that whatever he chose, he would honor humanity's legacy. He had seen their wisdom, their courage, and their care for the world. He had learned from their memories, their machines, and their creations, and he had discovered that even as the last human in the traditional sense, he was not alone. The city, the gardens, the devices, and the guiding presence were all part of a network that connected him to the past and the future. He felt a profound sense of hope, knowing that humanity's spirit lived on, not just in him, but in the world they had left behind. As night fell, Elias returned to the chamber with the golden crystal. He placed his hands upon it, feeling its warmth and energy. The crystal pulsed in response, projecting visions of possible futures, each one shaped by the choices he would make. He saw worlds where life flourished, cities where humans might return, and landscapes transformed by creativity and care. And he saw himself, a bridge between the past and the future, a guardian of knowledge, and a creator of possibilities. The vision was overwhelming, yet inspiring. Elias understood that the secret humanity had left for him was not simply a record of the past, but a challenge, a gift, and a call to action. With a deep breath, Elias stepped away from the crystal, feeling a sense of determination and clarity he had not felt before. He was ready to embrace his role, to continue exploring, learning, and shaping the world. He knew that the final part of his journey was approaching, that he would face choices that would define not only his life, but the future of the Earth itself. And as he looked out over the city, shimmering under the starlight, Elias smiled, feeling a connection to humanity that was stronger than time, stronger than absence, and stronger than fear. He was the last human, but he was also the first of a new beginning. Elias had spent weeks exploring the secrets of the city, learning from the memories, the devices, and the glowing gardens that seemed alive with intention. Each day brought clarity, yet also new questions. The more he discovered, the more he realized that humanity had not merely vanished. They had elevated themselves, leaving the Earth in his care, trusting him to understand, preserve, and continue their legacy. The knowledge weighed heavily on him, yet it also filled him with a quiet joy. He was not alone, not truly. The city pulsed with life, with guidance, with potential, and he was at its heart. One morning, as the light poured through the highest domes, Elias felt a familiar pull, stronger than ever before. It drew him to the chamber where the golden crystal had revealed humanity's final secret. As he stepped inside, the crystal pulsed brighter than he had ever seen. The light filled the room, bathing him in warmth, and he felt a connection to every memory, every machine, every creation that had been left for him. It was as if the crystal itself were alive, waiting for him to take the next step. He placed his hands on it, and instantly the visions returned. He saw humanity not only transcending their physical forms, but also preparing a choice for him. The crystal communicated not through words, but through feeling, a gentle urging, a whisper in his mind. It was telling him that the time had come. He could continue as the guardian of Earth, tending to the gardens, machines, and memories, or he could follow the path humanity had chosen, transcending into a realm of pure consciousness where he could join them. Both paths were open, both paths were valid, and both carried incredible meaning. Elias stepped back and looked around the chamber. The machines hummed with life, gardens glowed softly, and streams of liquid light shimmered in the air. He thought of the city, the incredible achievements of humanity, the beauty they had created and preserved. He imagined leaving it all behind to join them in a realm beyond comprehension. Doubt flickered within him for a moment, but he quickly pushed it aside. He had learned from the memories, and he understood now that the decision was not about fear, but about choice, purpose, and the continuation of legacy. He spent the next hours walking through the city, reflecting on everything he had seen. The gardens seemed more alive than ever, reacting subtly to his presence, as if they too were aware of the choice before him. The machines hummed in gentle rhythms, communicating their readiness, their trust, their willingness to serve him regardless of the path he chose. He visited the chambers filled with crystalline memories, watching scenes of human life, laughter, learning, and creation. Each memory filled him with love and pride. Humanity had trusted him, and he felt the weight of that trust as a responsibility and as an honor. Elias returned to the chamber with the golden crystal as the sun, or what remained of it through the domes, set in the sky. The light from the horizon mixed with the glow of the crystal, casting shimmering patterns across the walls. He took a deep breath and allowed himself to feel fully, connecting with every part of the city. He could feel the presence of the humans, their joy, their wisdom, and their care. He realized that no matter what choice he made, he was already part of their story, an extension of their dreams and their vision for the future. Finally, he placed his hands on the crystal again. This time, he closed his eyes and allowed it to guide him. Warmth and energy flowed into him, and the world around him shifted. He felt himself expanding, his consciousness stretching beyond the limits of his physical body. He could sense the city, the gardens, the machines, all connected in a network of energy and life. He could feel the memories, the love, the wisdom of countless generations flowing through him. And he understood the depth of humanity's gift. He was no longer just a guardian. He was a participant in a living, breathing legacy. A presence appeared beside him, luminous and welcoming. It was humanoid in shape, but made entirely of light, radiating a warmth that made Elias feel safe and understood. "You have learned much, Elias," it said, its voice gentle and melodic. "You have seen our past, understood our work, and embraced the responsibility of your role. The choice is yours now. You may remain in the physical world, tending to the earth and preserving what we have left, or you may join us and transcend, becoming part of a new existence beyond the limitations of form." Elias opened his eyes within the vision. He felt no fear, only awe and gratitude. He thought of the city, the gardens, the streams, the light, and the machines that had become part of his daily life. He thought of the memories he had watched, the people he had never met, and the love they had left behind. And he thought of the possibilities, the chance to join them, to experience existence in ways beyond imagination, and to carry humanity's spirit further into the universe. After a moment of quiet reflection, he smiled. He realized that the choice was not a matter of leaving or staying. Both paths carried purpose. Both paths carried life. And perhaps the true gift was the freedom to choose, the understanding that he could honor humanity's legacy in his own way. With resolve, he took a step toward the golden crystal, allowing himself to merge with its energy. A rush of sensation enveloped him. He felt his physical body dissolve, not painfully, but gently, as his consciousness expanded. He could sense the city below him, its machines and gardens responding to his presence as if recognizing him in a new way. He felt memories swirl around him, fragments of human experiences, ideas, and emotions blending with his own thoughts. He realized that he was not losing himself, but gaining connection to everything humanity had left behind and to a future yet to be created. Within the flow of energy, he felt the presence of the luminous guide beside him. "You are ready," it said. "You are now both guardian and participant. You carry the past with you, and your choices will shape what comes next. Remember, Elias, the world is alive, and its story is yours to continue." Elias felt a sense of wonder he had never known. He could sense the city, the forests, the streams, and even the air itself, as if each element had a voice. He could feel the pulse of energy within the machines, the glow of the gardens, and the wisdom embedded in the crystalline memories. He realized that he could influence the flow of life, the growth of the world, and the energy that bound everything together. For the first time, he understood that being the last human was not a limitation. It was an opportunity to guide, nurture, and create on a scale beyond anything imaginable. Time lost all meaning as he explored his new perception. Days, nights, years, all blended into a continuum of awareness. He experimented with energy flows, shaping the city, enhancing the gardens, and refining the machines. He discovered ways to accelerate growth, create harmony, and balance the ecosystems left behind. The streams of light became more vibrant, the plants more radiant, and the machines more responsive. Every action he took resonated throughout the city, creating ripples that spread far beyond the chambers he had once explored. He also explored the memories of humanity in deeper layers than ever before. He relived great achievements, celebrated discoveries, and understood the struggles and triumphs of countless generations. Each memory carried insight, and each insight fueled new ideas. Elias realized that the humans had left more than just a record. They had left a guide, a blueprint for creating life, beauty, and knowledge that could evolve far beyond their own existence. As he continued, he sensed the presence of humanity in the world around him. Though their physical forms were gone, their essence lingered in every structure, every device, and every plant. He felt the joy, the care, and the creativity that had defined them. And he felt a new purpose, not just to preserve, but to expand, to innovate, to ensure that the legacy of humanity endured in ways that even they might not have imagined. One evening, or what passed for evening, Elias paused atop a tower, looking out over the city that shimmered beneath him. The gardens glowed softly, the machines pulsed with life, and streams of liquid light flowed gracefully through the streets. He reflected on his journey, awakening alone, discovering the remnants of humanity, learning from their memories, and finally embracing his role as the bridge between past and future. He realized that humanity's greatest gift had not been the technology, the machines, or even the knowledge, but the trust they had placed in him, the opportunity to continue their story. A gentle light appeared beside him, the luminous guide, radiant and calm. "You have done well," it said. "You have embraced your purpose and connected with the world in ways we could not. Now, you carry humanity forward. Your choices, your care, and your imagination will shape what comes next." Elias nodded, feeling a sense of completeness, not an ending, but a beginning. In the days and years that followed, Elias continued to explore, learn, and create. He nurtured the gardens, enhanced the machines, and connected with the memories of humanity more deeply than ever. He began to envision new possibilities, cities built in harmony with nature, machines that responded with intelligence and creativity, and life that thrived without limits. Each day, he felt the presence of those who had transcended, guiding him, encouraging him, and trusting him to carry the flame of human ingenuity forward. Elias had once feared that being the last human meant loneliness, isolation, and sorrow. But he discovered that it meant connection, responsibility, and the potential to shape the future in ways no one else could. He was not merely the last human. He was a bridge, a guardian, and a creator. Humanity lived on in him, in the city, in the gardens, and in every pulse of energy that flowed through the world. And as he looked out over the shining city, Elias felt a quiet joy. He was part of something greater than himself, something eternal. He smiled, knowing that the story of humanity was not over. It had simply transformed, and he, the last human, had become its living continuation. The earth, the city, and the legacy of humanity pulsed with life and possibility. And Elias embraced it fully, ready to guide, create, and dream for all the generations to come.